Welcome back to Movie Synopsis.
Today I will show you a thriller, crime film from 2016 titled Mechanic, Resurrection. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. For 5 months Arthur Bishop has been living a quiet life in Rio de Janeiro, but always on high alert, under the false identity of Mr. Santos. One day, during lunch, he is approached by a mysterious woman who knows Arthur's true identity as a hitman. Her client needs him to kill 3 targets and stage them as accidents. Realizing he is surrounded by mercenaries, he takes the woman's picture as she reaches for a gun. He pushes the table against her as the other hitmen approach him. Arthur fends them all off before jumping off the edge onto a tram car. The woman and her henchmen continue to pursue him and almost catch him until he jumps off onto the back of a hand glider and escapes. With his location compromised, he leaves no evidence behind. He uploads the picture online to find out more about the woman and retreats to a place in Thailand. There he meets his friend May, who offers him a modest hiding place with which he is obviously familiar with. Later that evening, he receives information about the mysterious woman and learns that her employer is Ria Crane, a former childhood friend of his. By the shore, Arthur sees a beautiful woman, Gina. She goes to the local store and asks for a first aid kit, which is when May notices her bruises. Later that night, in the water, Arthur sees a boat and hears Gina calling for help. At first he is reluctant to help Gina because he does not want to get involved in other people's business, but after being urged to do so by May, he changes his mind. He makes his way to the boat and wrestles with the attacker before accidentally killing him. He hands Gina over to May and looks around the boat to find a photo with himself on Gina's phone. He then lights the boat on fire with a flare to erase all traces of him ever being there. Arthur then confronts Gina and learns that she is in contact with Crane. He concludes that Crane is deliberately using her as bait to lure him out of hiding. Arthur points a gun at Gina and forces her to tell him about Crane's plan. Gina tries to wrestle the gun out of Arthur's hand, but is unsuccessful. In the end, she admits that Crane sent her, but she is not working for him. He blackmailed her into it and she has no idea where Crane is. Arthur later watches a video of Gina teaching children in Cambodia. He approaches her sunbathing on the beach, and asks her what leverage Crane has on her. She explains to him that a friend of hers has been kidnapped by Crane and he has threatened to harm the children if she does not do what he wants. Back at the cabin, Arthur notices a suspicious boat and upon closer inspection, he sees a couple of men staring at them. He keeps Gina close and takes her to a bar where May works. This brings the two closer as they bond while Crane's men still are watching them. That evening, Arthur reveals that he was an orphan and trained from a young age to be an assassin. Crane was there too. In the end, he escaped, but Crane failed and was punished for the attempt. He suspects that this is his revenge. Honesty is their cue to show affection for each other and even do a couple yoga exercises. The next day, as the two are walking along the beach, Crane's men approach them in a boat, and Arthur kisses Gina and promises her that he will get her home no matter what. They kidnap Gina while Arthur tries to fight them off, but they turn their guns on him and Crane arranges a face-to-face meeting. Arthur is taken to Crane's headquarters while Gina is held hostage on a yacht, so Arthur gets the job done. Crane gives him a folder with 3 targets that he must stage as accidental deaths or Gina will die. The first target is an African warlord named Krill, who is locked up in a Malaysian prison. Crane warns him that Krill is in a maximum security prison surrounded by shark-infested waters and closely guarded around the clock. Arthur reluctantly agrees to carry out Crane's mission. In Malaysia, he looks at some local felons and finds one who fits his figure and has a tattoo on his face. He gets some C4 and disguises it as gum. He draws the dice tattoo and forges his documents. He then goes to the streets and acts all suspicious in front of the police to get himself arrested. Thanks to his tattoo, they confirm him as the wanted criminal. After that, he is taken to the same prison as Krill. The security check there is pretty light. He immediately makes an effort to get information about Krill from other prisoners and learns that some others have a vendetta against the warlord, but he has his bodyguards protecting him all the time. Arthur watches Krill for some time and finally the moment he has been waiting for arrives. He kills one of the prisoners who tried to get to Krill while he was careless. As a thank you, Krill invites him to a meal together, just the two of them. Krill reveals that he is always the target of assassinations and needs a full escort, so he can use men like Arthur. When Krill rants about his plans to take over Africa once he is released from prison, Arthur strangles him to death and makes him drink poison to make it look like an accident. He fools his bodyguards by having Krill sit at his table to make it look like he is in the middle of praying. The guards become aware of the incident and see Arthur on the security cameras. He uses C4 disguised as gum to make a bomb that blows a hole in the prison walls. He goes through it and jumps into the ocean to escape where Crane's fishing boat awaits him. After killing Krill, Arthur gets his next target, Adrian Cook, a billionaire underage human trafficker from Sydney. Not only that, but he's an arms dealer, just like Krill. Adrian's paranoia is as big as his ego. His luxurious penthouse has military-grade security that makes it nearly impossible to get in by standard means. Arthur pretends to buy an apartment near Adrian's place. Then he duplicates the key and studies the floor plan of the apartment building. He also makes a mixture of chemicals to break thick glass. The next day, Arthur sneaks past the building's tight security and enters the apartment with his duplicate key. He makes all the necessary preparations and climbs onto the glass under Adrian's pool. Knowing exactly when the old man goes swimming, he drills a hole and inserts the chemical, cracking the glass. As the water leaks out, it creates a whirlpool so strong that Adrian is thrown out and plummets to his death. Once again, Arthur makes a clean getaway. Perfectly staged tragic accident. While relaying the details of the third target, Crane allowed Arthur to speak to Gina via video call. She had fixed the camera so Arthur could see a serial number on a boat next to them through the window. He then contacts the port and finds out that Crane's yacht is in Sydney. His friend takes him in a helicopter, after which he climbs onto Crane's yacht to rescue Gina. He fights Crane's men, but is eventually outnumbered and captured. Crane is furious at his action and demands that Arthur completes the job within 24 hours if he wants to see Gina alive again. Arthur travels to Varna, Bulgaria. His last target is Max Adams, a wealthy American arms dealer. Max, on the other hand, having learned that Krill and Adrian have been killed by someone, has immediately ordered his men to increase security at their base. While planning to kill Max, Arthur realizes that his last target is Crane's only major competitor in arms sales. Since it was impossible to break into Max's base by normal means, Arthur snipes one of the guards on the helipad and a rescue helicopter is summoned, which he had snuck into. When the helicopter lands on Max's helipad and the guards are busy with their wounded comrade, he sneaks out unnoticed and plants a jammer that disables the building's security cameras. As the guards begin to mobilize, he makes his way into the building. Along the way, he takes out a few guards. When Max is on his way to his state-of-the-art panic room with a biometric lock, he is surprised to find Arthur waiting there for his arrival. Arthur says he's here to talk and Max, unfazed by it all, sarcastically replies,
"Lose your cell phone?"
Arthur explains the situation with Crane and since they get along well, he asks Max for his help in getting rid of Crane. Being a man of high morals, Max agrees to the plan proposed by Arthur. They first stage Max's death by blowing up his base and removing his traces in the sea. The news of the huge explosion and the death of Max Adams immediately becomes the focus of many parties, including Crane, who watches this on television. In fact, Arthur manages to get Max to a remote island where he can hide. He then calls Crane to tell him the job is done and he can let go of Gina, but he does not consider the job done until he sees Max's body. Arthur, expecting this, asks Crane to come to the submarine bunker to see Max's body himself. Crane sends his most trusted man to Arthur and orders him to kill Arthur once they confirm that Max is dead. Certain that Crane will double-cross him, Arthur lays a series of booby traps throughout the submarine cave to take out as many of Crane's mercenaries as possible. When Crane's men arrive, they are immediately met with resistance. It is not long before Arthur decimates all of Crane's mercenaries and swims to the ship where Gina is being held hostage. Having seen his men killed, Crane tightens security on the ship and uses Gina as bait to lure her boyfriend out. Meanwhile, Arthur manages to infiltrate the ship and begins taking out Crane's men with a mere knife. When Gina sees Arthur, who has come to rescue her, she tries to rebel but is shot instead. While Arthur gets rid of most of the mercenaries, Crane activates a bomb that will blow up the entire ship and tries to escape. A short time later, Arthur reunites with Gina and learns that the ship is set to explode. Of course, he will not let Crane escape, so he takes care of the rest of his men, overpowers Crane and ties him to the ship with a metal chain. A few seconds before the explosion, he pushes Gina onto the emergency escape pod, and the whole ship explodes. The escape pod emerges with Gina and she looks dejected, seeing no survivors of the explosion. Max sees Gina being taken to an ambulance and is told that there were no other survivors. But Max is not sure everything is that simple. Some time later, Gina has returned to Cambodia and is taking care of the children. She looks depressed, still thinking about Arthur, who was supposedly killed on Crane's ship. However, her expression changes abruptly when she sees Arthur standing before her without the slightest injury. In his office, Max taps into the harbor cameras and examines the ship's anchor compartment, which proves to be watertight and fireproof. Max finds out how Arthur survived, but destroys the evidence as a token of gratitude for sparing his life and enabling him to monopolize the arms trade business around the world. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this.